Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 393. It's a palindrome. This is your guide to the geek side. And remember, as always, subscribe to all of our wonderful podcasts on our Secret Friends Unite network feed, where you get this lovely podcast, the Holocron Chronicles for all things Star Wars, the Code 47 for all things Star Trek, and Co-op Mode for all things video games. And also then, if you want to see us, and see our wonderful backgrounds and the beautiful guests that we have on our show, you can check out our YouTube page, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and tell us your takes in the world of nerd. But with that, I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by my wonderful co-host, Charlie Carden.
Did you see, you were on a tear, but I was dancing. I dropped my microphone. I was doing all this stuff. I'm excited. What can I say? It's Sunday. It's the end of the weekend. Yeah, it's been good. It's supposed to start raining here in a minute. Oh, it's raining. Yeah, thunderstorms all day. So what a great day to be inside casting the pods. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited because, this is football season. I'm big into that, fantasy football. I geek out about the sport I love the most, which is football. And today I'm going to go watch a Vikings game with a good friend of mine. He's going to make pizzas for us. So I am stoked.
Viking pizza? What's on a Viking pizza? Chopped as
lots of blood and fish.
Chunks of bird and fish. There you go.
Yeah,
bird
lots
chunks.
of chaos. That's the secret ingredient.
I like it.
Yes.
As I like to call it. But speaking of Chados, we were talking a little bit in the pre-roll about this. This week's cover, The Amazing Spider-Man 393, the finale of Shrieking, which was, and again, because this came out this came out in the summer of 1994. This is right after I got out of high school. I was still an active reader of The Amazing Spider-Man, and drawn by Todd Oxtra favorite Mark Bagley. I'm trying to read the inside. The Spider-Man mystery deepens. It deepens in this finale.
In the finale? Shouldn't it be resolved in the finale? Come on.
Todd, you've been reading comics just like I have for 40 years. Nothing ever gets resolved.
It's a soap opera. Yeah, it's essentially 2 bits of story for like 30 bits of filler. Yeah,
exactly correct. So but we've got, like you said, like you were saying when we were chatting, this is a fashion explosion. So we have 3 characters, central of which is Carrion. As far as like Carrion, like rotting dead. He's a zombie. His touch kills things. He's back in this with, a wacky costume. He's a character from the 70s from Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. But in this, he's got, Todd, like you're saying, he's got the high waiter pants. Though it looks like everybody's wearing spandex. So they're not really pants. They're yoga pants. Yoga pants hiked up above what would be his belly button. He has no nipples because it's comics. And then he's got a shoulder head, like he's got basically like a swim cap and like a shoulder piece, but again,
it's a hoodie for his shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course gauntlets, but again, everything's stuck. And then his companion is Shriek, I believe, thus the name of the series. She is wearing a corset plus wrist pieces that have blades on them. She's wearing one leg has a boot and the other one has a legging, like a thigh-high legging, both high-heeled. I don't even, and then of course Spidey is Spidey, and again his outfit's so close, except for the fact that he's obviously wearing tighty whities, or it's not our dance belt, because you can see every sinew in his leg and every rib. Mark Bagley, he's one upon himself, but it's anorexia hell.
Everyone looks like Bruce Lee. Everyone looks like Bruce Lee's body, essentially. Every sinew, everything is there for your, and then they have a waist that's essentially 10 inches wide. So, yeah,
it's
everybody's fit and toit. Yeah,
everybody's toit like a tiger.
There you go.
Oh my goodness!
Thank you, Austin Powers and Gold member. Yes, for
exactly.
That
well, guess who else has managed to stay toit for 122 years? I am talking about our senior news correspondent, the lady who's got the dope on the street down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. That would be Madam Webb. Todd, let's go and see what she's got for us this week.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. as Charlie mentioned, I believe all of Spider-Man's characters, Merrick Bagley, took from your pictures he found in a wreck from a haunted house. He's like, who is this wonderful woman that has nary a bit of flesh on her bones? She must be the inspiration for all of my characters. Kind of like Alex Ross, where he has people, dresses them up, and he does kind of like the photorealistic painting. The same thing with that. So he has that constant picture of Madam Webb, and he just puts a new face on Madam Webb's body.
Yeah, I would say for sure the Carrion, which you'll see if you're watching our YouTube channel in the lower left-hand corner, that is definitely a dead ringer for Madam Web. But yeah, you know what?
Yes.
It's good to be famous. All right, what do we got up next? It's News Bonanza Week.
Yes. We've got some initial stuff that's not related to the big events, so we thought we'd cover those first, but we are going to talk about D23, the Disney Marvel Games thing, the Star Trek Day, so much happening. Very exciting. So we'll get into it with trailer trash. Yes, folks, we've got 3 trailers we're going to talk about, but we're going to start off with some just general trailers that came out for stuff we're excited about. The first one, Charlie, we've been talking about this coming back, Quantum Leap. We actually got a really long trailer that kind of talked about all the story beats and all of the pieces where we're at, and kind of got a feel for like the time frame, who our main character is, and essentially who the new all the different characters are kind of reinvoking Quantum Leap. So what did you think?
I like the direction they're going with this, because it's such a mixed bag. If they just drag Scott Bakula back in and it's like Sam's still doing stuff, then it has limited appeal. And of course, Dean Stockwell has left us. So taking the core concept of the show and starting it, and continuing that averse with new characters in a new situation, that I have to get the feeling that at some point that could be a season 1 cliffhanger that we'll get Scott Bakula back. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I like it that they're bringing back a heritage background character. That would be the character of Magic, who was in Sam's brother's platoon in Vietnam in 1970 when Sam leapt into his own brother and ended up saving his brother's life, because that's who Sam leapt into Magic. So that's going to be very cool. Magic is being played by Ernie Hudson, because obviously this is present day, and that was 50 something years ago. So I think this is great. I think taking it and then, having an entirely new cast and making a little bit more modern day. I'm glad that they didn't just say, we're just going to pick up where we left off, but continuing in the averse, and the concept of it, which you and I have both talked about when it comes to Quantum Leap, is very evergreen. You can sit down and knock that show out now, and it doesn't feel like, oh God, this was made in the 80s and it's so blah, because it's about him jumping through time. So the appearance of the show and the fact that it is really not effects driven makes it timeless, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's set in 2022, which is funny because it's like, oh, yes, we don't have this technology now, but why not set it in modern times? That's perfectly fine. They didn't
have that. But again, the original show, which came out in 1989, was set in 1999. And their portrayal of 10 years in the future, where people had, like, women had had earrings that blinked, that was fashion then. And people, Admiral, or Al Calvici, he wore a tie, but it was just clear plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, it was like weird little twists.
It was the Back to the Future. Yeah.
It absolutely was. So this is obviously not going to employ that. So that's good. That's the only part of it. And they spent such a small portion of the original show in the present of 1999 that it wasn't that big of a deal, though you did see Al's crazy suits and stuff from time to time. So anyway, this is great. So this comes on this week? Is this out the 16th?
It's September 19th, so next Monday. So and then so essentially we've got Raymond Lee playing the lead, named Ben Sung, and we are going to have more, like, this one's going to be different because it's going to basically be taking place with the Quantum Leap project, plus also the antics back and forth in time. And then there's ultimately a basically a love story too, because Al is now a woman and they have a romantic past apparently. So that's going to add some intrigue.
Oh my.
To this. Yes.
Really? How interesting. I like it. Should be cool. Next, we have what is sure to be a fiery lawsuit from whatever living Beatles there are. No, I'm just kidding. Won't be that at all. Well, no, we have a sequel to Knives Out, which was a great film from Rian Johnson. I'm going to say 2019, it says right here. A theatrical release. This sequel, called Glass Onion, is going to be a Netflix deal just before Christmas. Very, very Christmassy theme. This is really, to me, looks like a modern day Murder on the Nile, which was just came out recently. I'm drawing a blank on the director who did Murder on the Nile. Somebody very famous. Help me out.
Kenneth Branagh.
There you go. Well, because he directed. Well, he directed and starred because he was Poirot, who was the detective in that. This seems phenomenally similar because again, this is a riverboat kind of scenario. Then they end up in the jungle, so it's a murder mystery deal. But this is told with all the camp that you would expect. I mean, the cast is second to none. Catherine Hahn, Edward Norton, Dave Bautista, all the things that you see in this trailer. This looks like a delight. And again, watching it at home, I like it. You know, it always boggles my mind, you know, big theatrical release versus the Netflix release. Where's the money? I mean, are they really justifying picking up new subscribers to make it like this, or is this keeping the cost down? Someday somebody will show me a mathematical model that makes it make sense. I don't know. But regardless, the trailer for this looks fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Looks like fun.
Yeah, Netflix is going to be changing their model. You can just feel it. They're going to be adding ads to it, which is coming soon. They're going to charge people who are leeching off of the subscriptions. And I think there's going to be a lean in to put a lot of their movies, to your point, theatrically. When you're spending that much money on a movie and you already have a set number of subscribers and you're already charging them more and people are going to leave because they don't want to pay all the time. They don't want to subscribe all the time. You've got to find a different revenue source. So between ads and probably more theatrical releases, which I think that's going to be the model going forward. It's like we're going to go back, right? Ads and things in the theaters, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you know, and I know in conversations you and I have had with John, our other very close founding secret friend member, he hates advertisements, drives him crazy. I grew up in that world because, again, that's what my mom did for a living. She worked for a local TV station. I did that for probably half of my career. I sold newspaper advertising. I sold radio advertising. Ads don't bother me at all. We've been watching Night Court, and it's funny. John said, well, it's on my Vudu, and I plugged in, and I tried to do it through – I was varying Vudu logins, so I hate to mess with that. So I just started watching it on Prime through Freevee, which is their free service with ads. And you know what? The thing with ads is ads are almost neutralized in this modern age when we're all looking at our phones anyway, where you can very easily just push the mute button on the side of your Roku and keep one side eye on it while you're still looking at your phone. It's almost immaterial, you know? So I would almost say I'm kind of fine with going back to an ad model with most things. If it's available, why not save the money? Now I sound like you, Todd. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?
Well, it's crazy because when we were paying for cable, there were still ads. You know, the only thing that changed was like TiVo and DVRs, which you could fast forward through ads. And now with VOD has unskippable ads to the most point. When you have still, the
mute button, or you just
Yeah, but I will say there's a right way to do ads and there's a bad way to do ads. Now I'd say Hulu is one of the worst because you get like almost 4 minutes of ads like every 10 minutes. So it's like it really breaks up your show. I think they need to do like ads at the beginning, maybe like 30 seconds of ads in the middle. Make them shorter and make them not repeat. I cannot manage an ad that repeats for the 85th time.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because we do still watch one local news station. Ironically enough, the station my mom worked for when I was growing up, Fox 17 here in Grand Rapids. They do sometimes, nobody's at the button when it comes to their ads because they will show the same ad 3 or 4 times in a row, which is unforgivable. It's unforgivable. It's just nobody's at the switch. So it's like, that is just such an incredible turnoff because regular cable's not that way because there's somebody I know from my own experience, somebody in the traffic department who schedules all those things and it's very by the button. So I don't know why it's, to your point, like it
should be an algorithm that they can figure it out, but it's got to change because if you want people to accept ads again, then they have to be that way. But having that option to pay or not to pay is nice too. But if they're not charging you for it, they've got to make money some way. So I think that's the future. It's going to be these hybrids, and it's like everybody else, make money.
And it's a matter, and it's a matter of choice. And Todd will just have to pay attention to the comments on your cord cutter group because it's absolutely delicious.
I don't save any money. You thought I was going to save money on cord. I think it's somebody.
Why did you think you were going to save money?
I think it's somebody is just a troll. They just put that in there like every 3 months just to get people to like. It's not the point. It's like I've seen this before. It's like deja vu all over again.
Oh
Thank you, Yogi Berra. Yes.
Let's move on.
So the last trailer we're going to talk about that's not tied to a big conglomerate is Mythic Quest Season 3. Mythic Quest is back. Love the show. It's about a startup. Well, not a startup. It's about a big video game company that makes a big MMORPG. We've got, one of the stars of It's Always Sunny. Rob McElhenney is in it, and just a wacky cast of people that run this business. And it's just, that's the whole thing with sitcoms. It's always, you have a premise, but it's not necessarily about the games. It's just the people doing wacky things. Danny Putty is in this as well, and he's coming back, which is funny because he essentially was carted off to prison in the last season. So that's a surprise.
He was what was he, a scammer of some variety, or
he was their business manager and gotten some dicey things on the side. Yeah. And it was funny. F. Murray Abraham was in this as well. It's kind of like the lore master for the game. Very funny.
My
basically,
God.
Yeah.
That man has to be like 120. He has to have gone to high school with Madam Webb. He's old as hell.
Yeah, well, something must have happened because he's no longer on the show, and they don't explain why. I think I might have heard rumblings of like inappropriate behavior. That's what old people do. They just do inappropriate things, apparently.
Oh my God. You know what? We've been talking about merch. Maybe old people do inappropriate behavior. There's a Todd Slug line.
kind of true. You hear about more and more of these older actors who've been like canned, like Jeff.
They're like, what? What did I do?
Like the dad on the Goldbergs, who they're finally killing.
Jeff. Jeff. Oh man, that's tough because that's based on that show is based on Goldberg's life. So
well, it's not. Not the dad though is being killed off. Yeah, not the creator of the show is being killed off.
No. I'm just saying that the show itself is based on the guy's life, so to have to kill off the dad character, that's a real bummer. But I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. So Mythic Quest is coming back, and it's just really more the trials and tribulations of this team. I love it so much. Very funny, and they do the unique thing of every season they have had a kind of like a standalone episode that is truly disconnected from the rest of the show, and they're always their best episodes. So first season was about a previous couple who started a business as well, where you found out they actually the studio where they actually work at now is the new studio. It's kind of cool. And then F. Murray Abraham, it was all about his background as a science fiction writer, as like from the 70s, and it was kind of cool how it was like kind of brought it back in. So very cool.
He was L. Ron Hubbard.
Kind of, yeah. It was all about that. It was very unique, really well done, and it was actually one of William Hurt's last roles because he played a rival to F. Murray Abraham, and that was one of his last roles he had. So there you go. Check out Mythic Quest. It's on Apple TV Plus. So they've really found their niche with only a few really strong shows. They don't do a lot, but what they do is typically really well received.
I mean, and again, if it's well received and acclaimed, people are signing on and they're minimizing their investment. So therefore, obviously capitalizing on their return on investment. So, and it's not like Apple doesn't have all the money they got more money than Davy Crockett, so to speak. So I think they're going to be okay.
Absolutely.
So, here we go. I'm going to kick off this D23 News Roundup with my one standalone story. And Todd, everybody knows how much you love Star Wars. So I know you're going to have opinions. But it was just a piece of news that I don't think specifically came out of D23. No, because it mentions the article upcoming in reference to upcoming D23. This is an interview that was done with Kathleen Kennedy. CBR is the source. So a lot of people really hate CBR. I found in our group. So
are they owned by CBS or I don't know who owns them?
That must be why all the young people have it. But no, Kathleen Kennedy is going on record, at least according to this, that she's not going to be discussing any Star Wars films before the year 2024. So we're looking at the next 18 months minimum, or a little bit less than, before we hit that mark. That we would even be looking at, any projects such as Damon Lindelof. Why can't I say his name? Lindelof, or of course the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron, which I know Mark and I have been really tugged for over on Holocron because we're big X-Wing guys. We want to see the big dogfighting movie. So everything has been super shelved. Again, there's two ways to slice this. Let's keep in mind that we have been, spoiled by the embarrassment of riches of Star Wars related content since 2015. Since the Disney acquisition, which happens just prior to that, we had a trilogy, and now we've got more movies to beat the band. So people are like, gimme. Let's not forget that there were over 15 years between between Return of the Jedi and Episode 1. With the only thing that in between that we ended up seeing was the Ewoks movies. Let's forget about that. And then the re-release of the original trilogy in special edition. So 15 years with no content versus, 15 months without film content, or at least till an announcement. This could be tantamount to, it says right in here, 5 or 6 years with no films after 2019's The Rise of Skywalker. So, long story short, short story long, it's kind of much ado about nothing. People are going to bitch about it, but by employing a little perspective, and for the fact that we are going to continue to have Star Wars content on Disney Plus, which is obviously where they want it, or they wouldn't be pursuing it in this fashion. It's a drag. You, John, and I have all talked about how Star Wars belongs. Star Wars belongs on the big screen, and you and I talk about how Star Trek belongs on the small screen. And that, and then when you start to make that paradigm shift and do it in the other direction, sometimes you don't get the best results. The JJ films, some of the Star Wars content has not been great that have been the Disney Plus programs. So I think this is kind of nada. I don't know. I mean, Todd, you are more outspoken about Star Wars than most people I personally associate with. And obviously, as a part of this network, you and I have been doing this for a long time. So what's your take on this, Nick?
Because you can't shut me out, Charlie. That's the thing. Everybody else would be like, you're on my list. You're out. You don't like Star Trek, Star Wars, you're out.
Yeah, right. Okay. What do you think? Break it down for me.
Well, just imagine, Charlie, if there was no Marvel movies for 6 years, or 4 years, or 3 years. Wouldn't that feel like, what the F went wrong? Did something go horribly? We're losing essentially,
You can still say fuck, it's okay. Go ahead, say it.
Well, no, because that's what Kathleen Kennedy would say, because she can't, because it would bring down Disney's value. Yes.
Okay. You're right. You're right. If you compare that, holy shit. Because there have been Marvel movies, Iron Man came out in 2008. Then it was the Hulk, and then there was a gap because they needed it. So in 2009, there was no content. And then 2010, 2011, so every year since 2010, there have been multiple Marvel films.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Correct? I think we didn't even miss 2020 because they put out Black Widow.
And then Shang-Chi came out too. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, that was in 2021. So I think 2020 was the only year between 2010 and present day that there weren't films. So exactly. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, you're right. If you hold it up against that lens and be like, no, Marvel films, we'll talk to you in 6 years, people would be pissing themselves because that's the bread and butter of the way people look at Marvel. You know what I mean? And I still bump into people out there, man, I don't have Disney Plus. I haven't seen any of those shows. Man, I don't have Paramount Plus. I've not seen any of the new Star Treks. Those people are out there, but everybody's got, I got Netflix, I got Hulu. I just can't add one more thing. It's like, Todd, you and I should be getting money from these people by broadcasting the concept that streaming services are plug and play. You know what? I want to watch all of Star Trek Lower Decks, 3 seasons, 10 episodes that are 30 minutes. I'll subscribe for a month. And then
you could knock it out. You could knock it out and be done. Yeah.
Or you could do 2 months and probably watch all the rest of the other 5 series that are out there. You know what? It's not. You're not joining the army here. You're not. You're not signing up for Blockbuster.
It's not like cable where you had a contract, and that's what people forget. It's like, I can actually put a reminder on your smart device and say, in 10 days, cancel, and guess what? Save your password and go again. Yeah.
My beautiful wife, by the way. Yes, it's all right here.
Yes. So something has to be really wrong with Star Wars from a perspective of what they want to do in the movies to forego billions and billions of dollars of revenue. That's not something you do because you like losing money. It probably comes back to I think Kathleen Kennedy is gun shy to move things forward because essentially they've burrowed.
So crazy though. Yeah.
Well, they burrowed into this time frame where it's like, I feel it's like comfort food. It's like, well, it's not going to rock any boats because it's things people have already accepted. And it's more of that versus, people, even Rian Johnson's movie that, people, I found merits in some of it and some of it I'm like,
absolutely,
my favorite.
Absolutely. No, and that's certainly what we talked about when we broke the movie down on Holocron. I agree.
But I don't think he didn't destroy your childhood with that movie. Yet people pushed back, and
not according to you. But
that's true.
Really, I mean, I would almost say for her, it's like, take that leap from the lion's head, the leap of faith that Indiana Jones did. People are going to engage with Star Wars no matter what you put out, because it's got the word Star Wars on it. So she could do a KOTOR, or she could do push it 1,000 years in the other direction and go completely new. People are going to see it. It's going to be successful. So you're right. She or they or whatever it is with Lucasfilm, they're so goddamn terrified that it's going to be another Solo, which still made $250,000 domestically, didn't it? Is that a huge failure? Is that a huge failure as a piece
I'm
of
guessing profit? I'm guessing the profit on that movie was pretty shitty because of the rewrites starting over, and I mean,
but it's very isolated.
But Solo seemed like the safest thing in the world because it was a heritage character. You could do that. And it's not like, we're trying to do something new. No, you're just going in doing a Wikipedia of him, which to me, it was my favorite. But I'm like, if any movie is going to succeed that captures something, I'm like, that seems like a no-brainer. And the fact that didn't succeed tells you that, I don't know.
It was a perfect storm of kind of floundering, because it was.
And maybe too much, maybe
blah, blah. Yeah, they bounced it out.
Maybe Star Wars is something you can't do in the movie theaters every 6 months. Maybe it doesn't have, unless they do something different enough. Unless they do something different enough, like Marvel is different enough because you have a different character and it's not tied into the same characters every time.
Shifting. Yeah, you're right. So you'd really have to go outside. So I don't know. Time will tell, but you can tell that this is kind of the wet fart heard around the world. People are going to be pissed about this. But again, we've got a lot of other things we're going to talk about here in this D23 rollout, Star Wars related, that look very exciting. So I think it's going to be okay. So anyway, with that, moving into the main meat, as it were, D23. Todd, tell me about D23.
Holy cow. This was a long event, 3 days, essentially. It was covering everything Disney does. So if you think it's like National Geographic, it's Fox, it's Marvel, it's Pixar, it's Disney Animation, it's their TV shows that aren't tied into the major stuff. So you got things all over the board. I mean, and they were like talking to artists. They had a panel about The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers. I mean, so there was something there for everybody, which I appreciate. Disney did its first games event, which was pretty cool. And just my big key takeaway from that is they are making a really cool game, Captain America and this is a World War II Captain America game with with basically T'Challa's grandfather, who is the chieftain.
So he's in Wakanda during World War II. Oh, that sounds awesome. God, that could be the basis for a show or a cartoon spinoff kind of thing. That would be amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's, cool. I keep saying, maybe it's something I'll take a crack at. Who knows? That sounds hot because, my commitment to Cap as a character, that really fires me up. So that's pretty cool. All right, what we've got and what we agreed to prior to this is that we're going to try to blast through this list of trailers because we're going to publish them in the show notes. So this is one of those go watch it yourself kind of deal. But yeah, Todd, you made us a nice list, and so we're just going to kind of yay and nay this deal. Is that the big plan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is a small list because, one of the things I will say at Disney Plus, and you were like saying, hey, Oxford, I turned in and I'm just seeing a panel of people talk with Raven Simone. I'm like, they're not broadcasting everything. No, it's very much like DCC, where it's like, if you paid it.
That Raymond Simone panel was a quick turnout because April and I looked at each other and we're like, "What?" And she was wearing like a swimmer's cap, so she looked.
Was that what it was?
Bald. And or something. And then she painted the mouse ears on it. It was like, how quickly can we turn this off? Holy shit! But yeah, you're right.
She's so Raven, Charlie. She's so Raven.
She is so Raven, like you said. But yeah, this is a. What did you say? It was they throw scraps to the peasants. So it was the same thing. We saw, for example, the Mandalorian season 3 trailer, which people got to watch at Celebration, which was like 2 or 3 months ago. So yeah, Disney tends to keep the reins a little tight, but yeah, they rolled out a bunch more. But we got real trailers at this, but then we had a few that we didn't get. So
it was hard to dig for these things too, because I'm like, wait, there's a trailer for this? Why didn't it come out? And there's really no one place for Disney on like YouTube. Like you look and it's like, well, there's Walt Disney Studios, there's Marvel. You have to go to the different properties to get it. It's like,
there was. Well, the good news is that this link I found, we put everything here. But it's all right here. But yeah, Todd, do you want to blast through this list right quick, and we'll give people our particular thumbs?
Yeah, we'll do the trailers, and then there's some news bits, obviously, that had no trailers attached either. So very quickly, National Treasure. I thought it looked fun. Yay.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, April's into it. I dig it. Yeah, that's with Zendaya. So I like Zendaya.
And Catherine Zeta-Jones looks to be the villain. So very cool.
Ooh. My.
No, Zendaya is not in this. Zendaya is not National Treasure, Charlie.
That wasn't her? Who's the star?
No, it's not her. An unknown.
Look it up.
An ingenue.
It 100% looked like Zendaya. My bad.
We'll look it up in real time.
Okay.
Charlie's looking it up.
Yes, this is great radio.
Yes. So while Charlie's looking that up, I will tell you the next one that we saw that Charlie didn't. So Charlie doesn't really get an opinion. That's Willow. And to me, this trailer looked awesome. It's basically taking Willow and expanding it beyond the movie we got. Like I said, Ron Howard, perfectly nice guy, cannot do genre. He is not that fun and fanciful. So this is finally getting Willow where it's going to be. Looks fun. I really like this. It's really great adventure and fantasy. And it's really Disney's only fantasy thing. So I'm saying yay.
Her name is Lisette Oliveira, not Zendaya. Yeah, there you go. Previous credits are this and two other things that I have not heard of, so that makes her a virtual unknown. So
an ingenue, as they'd say. Introducing.
Yes, introducing. Speaking of introducing, and we might have to look this up. So we have I loved this trailer. Special presentation. Marvel I listened to the Marvel official podcast now, so I know I'll call all this stuff. Marvel Studios, WereWolf by Night, which is going to be on October 7th. Which is my daughter's birthday. So there we go. But this looks fun. The trailer was pretty much just a spin on your, kind of 1930s monster movie, Frankenstein kind of vibe. Who is the werewolf? I kept saying, oh my God, this totally looks like it's Skarsgård. It's not Skarsgård, is it? One of the Skarsgårds?
The character's name is Jack Russell. Now, who's playing him? Let's see if I can find a name. He's played by Gael Garcia Bernal, a pretty famous actor who does a lot of Mexican movies. Yeah. And then it's just, black and white, definitely has a feel of like, who's the werewolf? And you've got these hunters, like who are we going to attack? It looked great. I'm so excited for this. It's something new for Marvel. We haven't got Marvel horror, and this is the first time we're really going in. I thought this was going to be an animated. I thought this was going to be an animated thing. Yeah. So this is great. I love it. I'm saying,
That's the big surprise for something we're getting 3 weeks from now. Secret Invasion was up next. Now this title has been chewing in the wind for 2 years or longer, maybe 18 months that we've known about this. The return of Nick Fury. He's got 2 eyes now. Hello, that's a new
I didn't even notice
character. That. He still has the big old scar that he got from the Flerken, but right. He has a new eye. And then so in the trailer you see him, he's talking to Colby Smulders, Maria Hill character. You can get the return of Bendo Mendo as Talus, the main Skrull. And this is a sci-fi spy thriller, which is you're combining a lot of Captain Marvel with maybe even a little bit of Captain America and the Winter Soldier kind of squished together, and the parts of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that you actually liked. I think this looks great. You saw Emilia Clarke in the trailer as well. I'm not exactly sure what her role is. But yeah, I'm fired up. This is going to be pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to this. But we did get, of course, coming out in 2023, which
vague timing. Yeah. I think this looks great. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is that type of thing. And I think this looked epic. And I think we've been missing that in a Disney show. It's like, this is something that's really going to move the bar. And this one felt like it. It's all like, this is going to really drive something bigger or in the overall MCU, which is what people have been waiting for. And I'm hoping this is it. Because it looks great. Absolutely. It looks great. Very tense. Yes.
Speaking of things on Disney Plus that put what have you on the map, Mandalorian Season 3, which we're getting in February of next year. This is the trailer, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that dropped at Celebration back early in the late spring, early summertime. I've watched, you and I were joking, I said, I've watched the scrambled version. Says, is it like scrambled porn?
Not somebody's cell phone where you're just like, somebody was like taking it off camera with their cell phone.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That's the worst way to watch it.
Well, I mean, but it does that. And then because, again, we're hungry to find out. So naturally that ends up on YouTube and people are watching their way. But this was the fully licensed release. So we're seeing lots of great action. Mando flying around in his Naboo starfighter with Grogu in his lap, which would be very confusing confusing to anyone who didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett. But you say that and you realize that people who watch these pretty much probably watch everything, so they kind of know what's going on. But yeah, we're seeing Mandalore for the first time in live action, and that's where Bo-Katan has gone, and there's a civil war going on. And as I kind of anticipated when season 2 of Mandalorian ended, Mando's going to get involved because he's the leader of Mandalore. He's got the Darksaber, doesn't he? Hopefully he learned how to use it, not just cut his leg off like he did in Book of Boba Fett. Ouch! But yeah, again, talking about epic, this is bringing back the epicness, which definitely feel like we were missing in the Book of Boba Fett and to some degree in Kenobi as well. So this looks great. We'll be talking about this more, obviously, on Holocron. Holocron is also out this week. If you're listening to this on Friday, Holocron came out on Wednesday. So Mark and I will be talking about it there, too.
Yeah, Mando is probably my favorite Star Wars thing because it's just like it's unknown territory and it's new characters and they aren't tied into the Lucaverse, and so I don't have to care about that stuff except when they're when they are brought in with the Lucaverse.
but even when they are, they're not. You know what I mean? You got Luke in for a second here, and then they used him for what he was, and then he was gone. And they brought him in briefly, and then he was gone. I think that's kind of what made Book of Boba Fett flop, is that it was trying too hard to be Return of the Jedi 2.5 and just didn't carry it. So that'll be great. Like I said, mid-February. But the thing that's up next that get ready, Todd's going to do the knuckle crack so he can start typing furiously. That would be Andor, which comes out on September 21st. We got another trailer that admittedly had a little bit of recycled footage, but incorporated some of the stuff that I know that we saw when we went to go see Rogue One in the theaters in IMAX a couple of weeks ago. Katie and her husband and April and myself went to go see it together, and it was great to see that on the big screen again. Not everybody's cup of tea. This is going to be, again, your espionage spy thriller, definitely a little different, maybe not as much star in the wars, but definitely a little bit more of the grim and grit of the Empire, the dark times. All the merch that I'm seeing has dark times in parenthesis after it. So I feel like, and Todd, you pointed out to me, we were talking yesterday, this is the longest project that they've had. It's 2 seasons of 12 episodes each. Season 1 we're getting on a weekly basis starting just in a couple of weeks, 10 days from now, as a matter of fact, so not even. I'm excited about this. I like that time period, but Todd, I know you said you're probably not going to watch it unless you're hearing a good buzz, which hats off to you. That's okay. I understand your frustration if this is not your cup of tea, but I'm very excited.
I'm just curious why they chose that this had to be the longest thing. Like, I know they said like the first season is going to be 5 years ago before A New Hope, and then the second season is going to be 1 year before A New Hope. So it's pre-Rogue, Rogue One. Yeah,
Rouge, yes.
What I will say, what I saw from the trailer, and I think it's because when Star Wars is done well, it's very good, but a lot of my Star Wars is just not the best directed, not best acted. It's just more Star Wars. So when it really, like Rogue One, set apart because it's probably the best directed film, best acted film. And it didn't need Star Wars to make it good. So Rogue One could be that. And it's got some of the creators behind it. Not every creator. Gary Whitta was the writer of Rogue One, is not in this. And then the director was not behind this. But we have some producers and stuff as well. But what this is bringing to me, that the cartoons, which, I'm not a big fan of the cartoons because the cartoons just feel very weightless and very like the voice acting is not the strongest. Like I said, the scripts are not the best. This feels like it's bringing like the actual horror of the Empire in your face, like what it means. The cartoons, I didn't feel like, oh my God, this is like it's a horrific thing. It's like I feel like this maybe is bringing it home and it's going to make it more real. So in that instance, I'm like, this could be good, and just as a good standalone thing. I'm not excited about the era, like I said, the pre-rebellion era now, which is like basically post, Revenge of the Sith to before, I guess, you go Rogue One, is ridiculously long, and we've already had Rebels take place in that era too. So it's like I just feel like hopefully this is doing something different, but. Yeah, it's my least anticipated project outside of more, Bad Batch and things like that, just because I feel like it's just more context and more layering versus really breaking any bonds. It's not really telling us anything.
Right.
We know things happened and people died, but it's
Right.
MASH as well. So this is the MASH of Star Wars.
And again, it definitely appeals to another segment. But speaking of appealing to another segment, we have, and again, this is only really a series of 6 shorts. Suck it, Plo Koon. Tales of the Jedi, who were only in the Clone Wars. Todd, that's not the name of the show. That's not very nice.
But surprisingly, only thing that, like I said, Charlie, Star Wars is 90% prequels. So as long as you love that, you're going to be in heaven with this, because it's more of the same characters we've already seen in Clone Wars again and again and again, because we need more.
The thing is, think about it from kind of a Philip Morris kind of perspective. Get them while they're young. They got kids with the prequels in the early 90s, and then on into the mid and late, the early aughts into the mid, and then into the teens with prequels, Clone Wars, Rebels, and then into the Bad Batch. So
Resistance.
That's your younger crowd, as opposed to us who are bitching about it because I hated the prequels because burr. Yeah.
Well, it's every parent who loves Star Wars that says, "Well, I've got kids now. Here, eat Star Wars, devour Star Wars. Do not develop any likes outside of me. You cannot like anything that I didn't like. Here's everything I like. You must like it." And I kind of feel like that's where we're going to get that. Young Jedi, or what was it? Star Wars Baby show or whatever it's coming out. So we'll get Baby Ahsoka, and they'll hang out with.
So what you're saying is it's the equivalent of the soccer mom or the football dad. I played football. You're going to play football. Same kind of thing, right? You're going to love it because I love it. You're going to sit and scream at the TV screen at the U of M game because that's what I like to do.
Yeah, and as I told you, I joked because we're going to get Ahsoka's origin. I'm like, yeah, because Ahsoka's character that hasn't had more screen time than anybody in the original trilogy, probably by 3.
I think you might be right because she's been in so much different stuff. So anyway, moving on from that, we get that in. Oh God, does that? You know what? I already closed the link. When does that come out? Still have it open?
Maybe this fall. I don't know.
Okay, we'll see. You know what?
It's 36 minutes of my life that I don't have to sacrifice.
I hear you. Well, and then just to wrap things up, moving away from D23, I'm going to touch on this very briefly because by the time you've listened to this, you've probably already heard the super special, going to be published early in the week, Star Trek Day special. Last Thursday was the anniversary of Star Trek, 56 years since the program originally came out, but it's now become an annual event. We tried to record a special last year, and I was trying to tell April this morning, like, we didn't publish it because there was something, maybe I did what Todd did last week, which was not hit the record button. Todd, are we recording right now? We are! I'm so glad! I'm going to really quickly blast through this because, again, I don't want to double it up. I'm just going to give you the headlines. The big stuff we got, third and final season of Star Trek Picard drops on Feb 16 of 23. We got a new trailer. Looks spectacular. First photos of season 5 of Discovery, which we will probably get. Again, everything with Star Trek has become annual. So Discovery came before Picard. So I almost feel like we might get this. And again, they're down to a 10 episode season as opposed to 16. That was a contractual deal with CBS. Now they've fallen into the pattern of 10. So we might get this in January. I'm not sure. Will Wheaton returns to online Star Trek. Couldn't care less. Not a huge fan of Will Wheaton, even though I met the guy. He's very pleasant in person, but his on-screen persona drives me insane. A peek at the upcoming back end of Lower Decks with a sequel to the season 1 holodeck episode Veritas, which Todd, even you would find amusing. But to me, the big news, the thing I've been bitching about nonstop, is a return to Star Trek Prodigy, which is going to happen on October 27th, so about 6 weeks from now. And they showed a great clip, we get double Janeway. We have hologram Janeway is going to meet real Janeway, because the real Janeway and her crew finally tracked down the Prodigy. So that looks fun. Todd, did you ever see the rest of that show? Or any of that show?
No, I watched the first, I guess would be the first 2 episodes. I'm like, okay. Yeah. It's fine.
I think in a lot of ways, unless you're a diehard, it's tough to get fired up about that kind of animated stuff. So I get you. Rounding things out, we did have, of course, a tribute to Nichelle Nichols, who we lost earlier this month. And this was kind of cool, particularly because of, what we're doing right here. First ever scripted Star Trek podcast announced by Star Trek 2 and 6 director Nicholas Meyer. Khan SETI Alpha 5 about his life, which was covered in a series of novels non-canonically, in a comic series non-canonically within, the last probably 15 years. But this is going to be potentially a canonical rollout, so that's pretty exciting. And the return of the Star Trek Pod Directive podcast, which I love. That's Tony Newsom and Paula Tompkins, who hosted Star Trek Day. And then this is a nugget I'm super excited about. We're just hearing more and more about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This was really the hell out of nowhere. The new chief engineer of the Enterprise under Captain Pike is going to be portrayed by Carol Kane, veteran comedic actor going all the way back to the 1970s, where she starred in a show with Christopher Lloyd, another Star Trek alum, in Taxi. So it's like, in 1,000 years, I couldn't have come up with this. Pretty exciting. Todd, I know that you didn't really tune into this. First of all, it was the middle of a work day, so I understand. But some of it, the actual presentation was kind of weird.
Oh my God. It was like somebody's like regional con. It's like, hey, these people are showing up. Let's put them on stage. And they're like, the director of the Wrath of Khan, here he is. Like, what camera am I supposed to look at? It was very much like,
And they had Reggie Watts up there from James Corden.
That was bad.
Real oddball. I didn't care for it. But
why did they need him doing beats? And I didn't make it sense.
And it's not like it was very Star Trek either. So you know what? You take the good, you take the bad. We got some great content reveals out of it, so I'm very excited about it. But again, look for a fuller breakdown. If you subscribe to our network feed, you have already gotten our special episode all about it. So we will talk more about it on that show. So please tune in.
Yeah, it was, with Star Trek, they didn't announce anything like new, except for, like you said, the audio drama that they're doing.
That was what was missing.
And they didn't really do it. Like, they did the video game thing. They didn't talk about comics, really. They didn't talk about merch, like things like that, which, you maybe have to do that, because this had, it was funny because D23 and this are both following San Diego Comic-Con, and they both had a big presence there. So it's like, is it too close? Was it just, there's more Star Trek events than there has been in like how many years? And it's like, because we have all of those Star Trek, what is it, Star Trek Experience, or what is that one event they do, Charlie, the big one, the convention? And you're muted.
Oh, I have no idea how that happened. Star Trek Las Vegas, and then there was the Mission Chicago that April and I went to. There's another one coming up. So yeah, there's a lot of buzz. Yeah, you're right. It seems like there's always more to share. But with Picard ending, it seems like something is going to step up to fill in that space. So they're going to reveal that. So,
yeah. And I hope Picard's trailer, the show is better. The trailer doesn't exceed the show, because 2 seasons have not been good, and they're really relying on like the nostalgia. And maybe this is the one that finally get it right. But this does feel like Next Generation is back together.
Right. Well, essentially pushing off. I didn't so much mind Picard season 1. Season 2 was a train wreck. I mean, you heard Katie and I and Peter talk about it, talk about our disdain for it quite fully. So hoping that they're going to go out with a bang instead of a whimper. So we shall see. But speaking of going out, we are going out of this deal. That's right. The news is over. It's time to get out the app, flag down that gypsy cab to get us to Scugtown, down to Nastyville. That's right. We're going to the Geek Easy. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. Well, Charlie, Cobra Kai came out like 48 hours ago, and somehow you've already watched the whole thing.
I mean, that's what's so crazy. There's 10 episodes. They're 22 minutes each. When you work from home and you're like, well, we're taking we get up early, so we watched a couple. We watched a couple at lunch. Didn't have plans. I had plans Friday night, but then I came home. We watched some more, and then we wrapped it up on Saturday morning. It's that easy. It's very bite-sized, because in its own way, I'm not going to say a sitcom, because there's not a ton of comedy.
It's a soap opera with punching.
It's a soap opera with punching. Yeah, I do. I thought it was very fun. Of course, cliffhanger at the end. I'm not spoiling anything for you because they've done that so far. Johnny is great. You're seeing a little bit more of the dark side of Daniel in this season. But again, every episode has a punch up. They find about, oh man, it's at 17 minutes and 22 seconds. We got to get in that punch up. It was great. Very enjoyable. Todd, you've seen one of them, I'm guessing?
3. I've watched 3. Yeah.
3? Ooh! All right. So what do you think so far comparatively? So this is season 5? Because this is
Yeah.
series is
No,
kind of weird. It started.
yeah. No, season 4. This is
Yeah.
season 4, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't really
Okay.
enjoyed it so far. I mean, and to your point, I mean, and it's great because some of the storylines they wrapped up pretty quick. Like Daniel's
Right.
journey to meet his dad. That wraps up. That's done.
Oh, it's Miguel.
Yeah.
Daniel. Yeah. Yes. Miguel.
Sorry. Yeah. Miguel, he is, and then we're wrapping up. So we have some new storylines, with potential baby. We've got maybe another rival showing up that
Right.
isn't really a rival. I've really,
Right.
the subterfuge. It is like a soap opera. It is very much like so thick with just like, just drama and there's not a lot of like fun as much because it seems like everything is like
Right.
dire and everybody's crying.
Well, it is very dark, but it's one of these just like a sitcom, where you can wrap things for 10-episode arc. Things that break apart tend to come back together, which you could really predict. And again, one big punch up at the end. Which again, I'm not really spoiling anything for you, but I would say, Todd, definitely crank out there, watch the rest of it because, like I said, it's very bite sized. It's very much, you're eating you're eating the fun size pack of Teddy Grahams. You know what I mean? You really crank through it.
It never disappoints. It's never disappoints.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy. I can't believe this
Right.
came from YouTube when they were making premium content.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. It has such a weird history. But speaking of something that's a spinoff of an original that is actually getting it right, God, probably 3 or 4 months ago, I told you there was a one shot of Tales of the Walking Dead. No, excuse me, not Tales of the Walking Dead, because that's what this is called. Of the Fear of the Walking Dead, that was a spinoff set on a submarine, and it was just a little. It was a standalone episode, and I was like, Todd, this is great. They're really getting right everything that the regular show gets wrong, where the regular show is just doing everything possible to drag things out and blah, blah, blah. They've come back with a new concept. It's an anthology series, 6 episodes, and I can't remember if I've talked about this already, but it concluded today because the regular show is coming back within a couple of weeks for the 3rd installment of their final season, which again, it's just for the main show illustrates everything that's wrong with it. But for this Tales of the Walking Dead, absolutely fantastic. 6 standalone, unconnected 43-minute vignettes of a different story, starring everyone from Terry Crews to Olivia Munn to Anthony Edwards to a lot of other actors that you're like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, I'm going to look it up on IMDb and find out who this is. A bunch of different stories portraying different places in this world.
Experiences.
That were. Oh, so one of the episodes had Parker Posey and I'm going to draw a blank, Jillian Bell. It was just like, wow. And that was a comedic episode.
Oh, great.
They found a way to do an actual, 2 comedic actresses. I mean, what else would you expect? This was, for anyone who loved the Walking Dead before it became nonstop monotony, tune into this deal. We have AMC Plus. That's obviously how we watched it. But I loved it. I really recommend it for anyone who's gotten really sick of the Walking Dead's main, like, literal slog, like the pacing in the plot with the Walking Dead walks along as fast as a walker. I hate to say it. It just kind of shambles along. And they're like, we still got him on the line. Here's a couple sequels coming up. So we're not going to kill off Negan or Maggie or Daryl or Carol because there go those stakes because we know they have a show coming up. So this was not like that. You know what I mean? And not everything worked out so great for all the characters in these little vignettes. So you'll see, Todd, I would, if you love the original Walking Dead, I would recommend it because, again, it returns the thrills, it returns the stakes because you don't know what's going to happen to the characters in the episode that you're watching. So I dug it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, Walking Dead will never end because they keep making spin-offs and other projects. And
bingo. Yep.
You know what? If you love that stuff, I'm glad you enjoy it. I just tuned out quite some time ago. So maybe I'll tune back in when Rick comes back in his a billion movies or whatever they're doing. But
I mean, there was some piece of news about that recently. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but that was there going to be a Rick and Michonne spinoff?
It's going to be
another one. It's a Rick and Michonne spinoff too.
Well, it's going to be it's going to be instead of movies, it's going to be just a 6-episode series.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So exactly. Nothing that's really going to blow your mind. All right, what do you got?
Yeah, so Charlie, I've been telling you about this book, this Fantastic Four Full
Yes,
Circle
I
book.
want it.
It's a hardcover. Alex Ross is doing all of the illustration, non-painted, except for the cover. And he doesn't always do a lot of illustration without being painted, something that's been his niche. And he writes this book as well, and it's essentially a timeless tale of the Fantastic Four. Not necessarily, you can't really tell when it's set, and some of the dialogue is kind of, it's of the time. So you can tell Alex Ross just wants to tell a Fantastic Four standalone story that isn't, bringing like huge stakes in or anything like that, but it's just having fun. And he's having fun with the illustration and the bits of story and where it takes place. And I thought it was really well done. It was, hardcover. It's more of those days when a graphic novel truly was a longer story. Standalone, hardcover, came out. It was a little more expensive, prestige. And that's what this is. And I took some pictures and sent them to you. But really, this is a book that should not be read digitally because they take advantage of like a 2-cover page splash page. And when you put that on a tablet, it shrinks it. So then it's like his beautiful artwork is now tiny, and it's like it gets lost in translation. Or you lose the details.
You're panel flipping it, which doesn't work with this. It'd be like if you wanted to panel flip this illustration I have behind me, which can really only be taken in this fashion. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense. So that's awesome. I have it. I now have it in my cart at Amazon. Although I may buy it from a local comic shop because support
that's what
local.
I did.
So hashtag support local. So we'll see. In my travels, I'm in Metro Detroit this week, visiting some different shops. Maybe I'll stick my face in a Metro Detroit comic shop, and if I happen to see it, maybe I'll snag it.
Yeah, I will say there's an odd choice in coloring. Now, normally that's something I don't bring up is coloring. He likes pastels and pinks for some reason. It's weird. It's a weird choice because it doesn't feel like it. It was distracting more so than like made it better. So I don't know what the deal is. I typically say go with a colorist who knows what they're doing. Like Pat Olaf, I think is probably most famous colorist. Kind of like you used to have pencilers, and then you had the inkers and all those things. And a lot of the digital format has taken a lot of those roles away because a lot of it's just automated, where they can do it themselves. So yeah, that's just something like you may not love that part, but definitely cool book. It's hardcover. I think there's going to be a soft cover coming out as well, but $25, I think it's well worth it for what you got.
Yeah, I think for bookshelf, because I still have, that's what I still keep.
It's a prestige.
Older bookshelf, but again, it's like buying a book because that's how it's meant to be taken. And so, yeah, I will definitely do that at some point and check that out. And I love the Fantastic Four. So.
Yeah, they did some really neat things with like the gatefold and the cover page when you open like the book. Like it actually fans out, which I'm like, that's unique. And they really, really, very cool.
Good deal.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, dragons are really... I think the series is finding its time. And someone pointed out that Game of Thrones right now, it feels like if this was just about the Starks, because kind of like Game of Thrones became a billion plot lines, this is truly about the royal family and what is going to happen. And they keep building and building into that.
It's funny you say that because we did an event for the club. It was a 40th anniversary showing of the Wrath of Khan. So some of us showed up in uniform and did this. And I was chatting with Becky, who was one of my senior staffers, and I was talking about the show. And she's like, I've never watched much of Game of Thrones because I just couldn't get a foothold on it because there was just too damn much going on. There's this, and then they shifted over here. And, even though they would show a map at the beginning of it showing this is Winterfell and this is this thing and that thing. It was just, if you didn't have your pencil or you weren't looking at it, figuring out, there was too many threads, which again, is kind of what I have said about I would say Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Hoops of Fire, a lot of threads that'll eventually come together. But anyway, yeah, you're right. This does have a singular focus, and that makes it, I think, a lot more accessible. I agree with you.
And it will probably grow from that because just like Game of Thrones, the first season, all things were good until, Sean Bean, you got your head cut off. There's going to be some pulling of the rug out from characters that we're expecting. That's what Game of Thrones does. It layers on tragedy and unexpected deaths. There's no, your darlings will not be saved in this. But the highlight of the most recent episode was definitely the showdown of Daemon Daemon Targaryen, played by Matt Smith, which it's great to see someone who, doing iconic roles is not getting pigeonholed, kind of getting to be a badass in this, where he's essentially was tired of not doing well and trying to take down this Crab King who essentially was hiding out in caves. He essentially
Crab King.
Yeah, and this has been going on for years now. It's a war of attrition. The sides are basically at an impasse because they can't get him out of these caves, and they're fine to stay there. So he essentially makes himself bait, comes, basically gives up his sword, and then we get the coolest running montage and battle sequence I've seen in some time. And man, it is epic and it's really cool. And I'm like, that was really needed, I think, in a show where you haven't got, big moments like that. And it was kind of nice to have. And that's what Game of Thrones is known, every so often you get a big, set piece where something big happens. And I felt like that didn't disappoint me this week. We'll see how this goes, because obviously it's once again a lot of political intrigue and challenges, but really enjoying this so far. And I think it's one of the few shows where actually more people showed up for the second episode than the first, and that rarely happens.
Wow. Right. Yeah, that it actually caught a following, and people are like, "Well, it's like you are with Andor. You're going to listen for the buzz, and if the buzz pans out, then you may appear. But if the buzz, is like a wet fart, you just won't." And I understand where you're coming from.
A buzzy wet fart.
New merch opportunity, Katie. I hope you're listening. Buzzy wet fart.
Yes, well, that is it for the news this week. We had a lot. We didn't get to everything, and we'll probably talk about more of it next week when we come back on the show. But with that, we're going to check in with our mutants and to entertain them with a game we go to in the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're talking the fall TV preview. And it's funny because back in the day, you got your TV guide and they talk about the CBS, Fox, all of those four networks.
Whoa. Not back in the day, because as you know, I was just at my mother's house in Maryland. And guess who still gets printed magazine format TV guide so that she knows what shows are on? I love.
Well, there's no guide anymore, is there? Because they don't even tell you the channel.
No, it's like 80% articles.
Yeah.
And then it's 20% grids. So you're right. It's not, Frank Costanza back in the day with his little digest size, collecting them all. And then this, I bet I need my readers to even look at those. I would have no way to read it. But now it's all here with that, TV Time app that I even got April to install. Because he kept saying, when is such and such coming back on? I said, just do this app that Oxford made me do, and then you'll have it too. So there you go.
Yeah. So, but now it's not even just networks. It's streaming everything TV. So it's really hard to keep track, to your point. So there's some great websites that actually track premieres and things like that, which I really like. So I just kind of broke this down, kind of did a little bit of work to get us where we needed to be. So we'll go through these very quickly. Nice. Yeah, so Charlie, we're obviously already in September, so we won't get the beginning of everything. But Wednesday, September 14th, we have Handmaid's Tale Season 5. Yes. I don't know how many more seasons are left, but it's on Hulu.
I don't either. This is April's favorite show. By the time you're listening to this has already come out. So I'm highly anticipated. Very, very excited. Thursday, also this week, Thursday, September 15th, Vampire Academy is on, what's the name of that network, Todd? I'm not allowed to say it.
Peacock.
Oh, Todd, what the hell is Vampire Academy?
It's based on a book. There was a movie, and then this is now the TV series. It's probably going to be lots of teen anguish with vampires, but some people may like it.
Oh my god. Yeah. I get Todd, and on Friday, the day this comes out.
Yeah, Friday, September 16th.
What is this?
Los Spookies is this weird show with Fred Armisen where it's essentially a Spanish language vignettes of horror stories, which I found was very odd and weird. I watched the first one. It's just but it's all in Spanish, so you have to watch it in subtitles or you will be missing out. But it's very unique, very funny. It's Fred Armisen, so it's spooky stories with Spanish. Yeah. Then Charlie, we already talked about Quantum Leap on September 19th. Yeah.
And then on the actual Peacock, and then yes, Andor is on the 21st streaming on Disney Plus, and then now the months The Munster. Oh, this is the Munsters, which we talked about, but it's not the Addams Family that we talked about. Isn't this Munsters? I thought is this the Rob Zombies? Is it a show?
Yes, it's going to be on Netflix. It's a movie, and it's
God.
going to be on Netflix. So we get to watch the Munsters, Charlie. We don't have to pay for it.
I know. No, you confused me because we're talking about TV. But yes, it's a movie that's on TV. I'm so confused. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's the blurring of edges, Charlie. It's the blurring of edges. It is truly.
Blurred.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening. But then September 29th, we have two things coming out. There's a Looney Tunes cartoons Halloween special, which should be fun because the Looney Tunes show on HBO Max is actually really well done. They actually did this to embrace what they are. And then we've got, apparently, I'm in a TV show. So Help Me Todd is on CBS.
How did you do it? What's it about? No clue.
Todd helping people. Yes, Todd helping people.
I like it. Well, guess what? For every woman in your life that you know that's in our age demographic, Hocus Pocus 2 comes out on Disney Plus on September 30. Sit down, shut up, and watch it with your wife, girlfriend, mother, or whatever, because it'll score you big points. So that should be good. Original cast is returning. Don't know anything about the plot, but I'm sure it will be endearing in its own fashion.
Yeah, and then we've got one of the, Amazon and Netflix are making like just standalone movies now, and this one looked charming. It's called My Best Friend's Exorcism. It's on Amazon Prime on September 30th, so it might be a movie we check out for Spooktober.
Spooktober, Shocktober?
Oh, Spooktember, which would be in September. Shocktober is October.
I'll give you Spooktember. That one passes the sniff test. All right, we're in October already. Interview with the Vampire, which I assume is going to be based on Anne Rice's novel. I don't know if it was a series. Certainly, I'm familiar with it.
It was a series, yeah.
You actually spelled vampire with an extra I, so I'm impressed. That's over on AMC Plus, so streaming. Now, when you say AMC Plus, does that mean it's also on AMC? Oh, it'd be also on AMC, but it's Plus. Yeah, it's just available at
earlier
that same day. Speaking of that same day, it's the 14th installment of the final season of The Walking Dead, which is season 11, fall premiere. This is potentially the end of it, I guess, before they go off into spinoffs. Probably, I'd have to look it up, somewhere between 5 or 6 episodes. It's 5 or 6 weeks of this. Then probably Fear the Walking Dead comes back and blah, blah. And again, April loves The Walking Dead. I sit and watch it with her because I used to love it. But Todd, I'm in the same place as you, is that they just said, oh my God, we've got a hit. Keep milking. You can milk anything with nipples. We call it The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Exactly. If you enjoy making nipples give milk until they go dry, you can watch that. Or if you want something new, Monday, October 3rd, we're getting a Sinister Halloween Scary Opposites Solar special. So Solar Opposites is a animated series by the Rick and Morty guys. Yeah. So we're getting a Halloween special. So I love it when shows do Halloween specials. So this could be fun. I could be a one-off that I'd watch.
You know who's on Solar Opposites? Because I just saw it was Jack Quaid, who's Boimler on Lower Decks.
Oh, very nice.
There you go. That's a name I know. Wednesday, October 5th, we get season 2 of Chucky, which again, I would probably tune in, but again, it's on Sci-Fi.
It's on Peacock now. Everything, NBC Universal stuff goes to Peacock, which is nice.
All right, that's different. Because again, if you're like, not just like, it's another service, it's another app. That's the issue. Because again, April and I have to say, what are we going to watch? And we pull up our main screen on Roku, and it's the first couple of rows. It's like, oh, we haven't been to Showtime in a while, and then we might stumble on something. So both that and then Reginald the Vampire is also on Sci-Fi same day. Don't know anything about that. Todd.
It's based on a book called Fat Vampire. It's about a kid who's a little overweight, very unpopular, who turns into a vampire, and he's like disappointed to find out that's how he's going to be for the rest of his vampire life. So, and Ned from who's was in the Spider-Man movies that came out. He's playing Reginald.
Oh, Jacob Bastillion or something. I don't know. His first name is Jacob. There you
Filipino
go.
Kid.
All right.
Filipino kid. Yep.
Yeah. All right. What do we got? Friday, October 7th.
So Friday, October 7th, we're getting to, spooky season. So we have the Midnight Club. This is on Netflix. This is by the guy who did, not the House on Haunting Hill. Is that what he did? Mike, ranking his name, did, what are those Netflix scary shows that people really like?
I know the one you're talking about. We always do our homework here, by the way.
Mike Finnegan. No. Is that what his name is?
Mike Smith Johnsonsville. I don't know. But anyway, so what's this one about?
Yeah, so that one is essentially it's a series that's set into a library that's haunted, and basically you have the ghosts of kids telling stories. So this one should be pretty good. I think it's based on a book series, and hopefully this is not going to be as terrifying as his other series. But I like these. I mean, they're good to watch. I may just watch one of them, but still, it's like something to experience, and maybe it'll grab me. Kind of like American Horror Story. It's like kind of like a series like that.
Fantastic. And then we also have The Return of Hellraiser. Great film. It was a film series, I think, starting in the late 80s. I'm going to probably put myself in the crosshairs, and I think I said this to April. I don't know that I've ever seen this movie.
Well, this is, I don't know if this is a reboot of Hellraiser as a whole.
I think so, because the Hellraiser is now, the character is now female. The original character was male. Was I kind of getting that from the impetus of it?
Well, the main character of the first Hellraiser was a female, not the evil guy, the Cenobite, the Pinhead,
Cenobite,
as you knew him. Yeah.
Pinhead. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I think I saw at least 3 or 4 of the Hellraiser movies, and they are definitely of a time. They're by Clive Barker, and more about the pain and pleasures of demons from hell. Bring forward, very creepy, very creepy.
Excellent. All right, what else we got?
Yeah, on Sunday, October 9th, Let the Right One In is going to Showtime, a network that I don't even think exists, but maybe it does, because I watch nothing on that network. But that's essentially the third take on Let the Right One In. It was originally a Swedish film about a young girl who's a vampire and basically befriends a very sad, lonely boy. They made it with Chloe Moretz. Was that her name?
Oh, yeah, Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yep. So they redid a American version of that film with her in the lead as the little girl vampire. Yeah. And so I believe this is going to be a series.
She always throws me. She was also Carrie, but she also kind of bears a striking resemblance to my first wife, which is, I think she looks like Alicia. It's weird.
Oh, really?
It's weird to me.
I do not see that, but that's okay.
Take another look. I don't know. I was married very young to a woman named Alicia, who I think looks like her. So anyway, then The Winchesters. This is the spinoff of Supernatural. And yet, Todd, this was a show April finally got through all of it, I think probably during the pandemic. I've seen bits and pieces. It was on for like 100 years. What's The Winchesters all about? So
The Winchesters essentially telling the story of when the Winchester brothers, their parents met. They weren't married yet. This is kind of like and essentially you find out that
it's a prequel.
You find out the mother was essentially a demon hunter, and
so she gets Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Obviously,
this is his. Yeah, this is him as a early 20s meets his future wife, and he is brought into this world that he doesn't know anything about. So it's kind of that. It's a prequel only in the fact that these are characters you didn't really know anything about, and their journeys, and obviously they created a journal. So I think there could be something here if it's done well, but it's a CW show.
That sounds like fun. So I assume if I miss this, which I feel like I will, it'll end up on HBO Max, just like Superman and Lois, which we love.
I don't know about this, but it's definitely in the CW app.
Okay, yeah, I forget. And the problem with CW app is you get maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and then they go poof, and then they put up the next 4 or 5 episodes as they come. So that's my issue. I would just have to know, if I forget about this, I'd have to know where it lands, and I want to be able to tell April about it as well, since she doesn't listen to the show. But I want to remember. So, all right, what else we got?
Yeah, so we go from there to a new anthology series, October 25th, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, coming to Netflix. Ooh, so, nice. So this is him delving back into horror. He's very good at it. I'm assuming he is producing this, and he's brought in writers and directors to do all of the individual episodes. But this could be very good. Maybe he does one himself. I don't know.
That would be cool. And this is the last actual show we have for the fall. We've already talked about Star Trek Prodigy coming back. There's 10 episodes, which will actually take us through the end of the year. Star Trek wise, it's a fun show. It's for kids, which is great. It's kind of your access point for the real younger crowd to get into Star Trek, but again, it's a spiritual cousin of Voyager. So if you're a Voyager fan, of which Todd is not, probably not really for you. But we are getting, as I'd mentioned earlier, the connection between the Prodigy crew of young, rapscallion aliens and actual Starfleet, including Kate Mulgrew as real Janeway, and then as the hologram Janeway you see on Prodigy. So I think it should be fun. Look forward to it, and you'll hear all about it, obviously, bi-weekly on the Code 47 podcast on this very network.
Yep. So I'm getting a mulligan. So it wasn't Mike Finnegan. It was Mike Flanagan who was doing the club. Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay with me that you just lump all of us Irish into stereotypical names. It's no big deal.
Yeah, he's behind Midnight Mass, The Haunting of Hill House, Dr. Sleep. He was a writer on Dr. Sleep. He was a writer on Gerald's Game. He also
Dr. Sleep was great. If you've not watched it, Todd,
I have not. I've been meaning to watch it though.
It's there. One of the subheads I have is Stephen King stuff. So just go into my lists and it's there.
Definitely. Well, very good. And we don't have much past that for like really secure dates, but we have a couple left over. Friday, November 4th, we've got Enola Holmes 2 coming out, which I really enjoyed. The first one, Henry Cavill is Sherlock Holmes. Yeah.
And then of course Millie Bobby Brown is Enola Holmes.
Yeah, she's getting like $15 million for that movie. So definitely, a young woman leading winner.
Where is Netflix finding this money? And then Todd, the thing we've all been waiting for, which we finally realized when we got a trailer a couple of weeks ago, is a parody of a parody of a parody. That would be Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Al Yankovic being portrayed, I'm assuming quite deftly, by Daniel Radcliffe. Weird Al, of course, is in it as well. And it's just a very much a silly behind the music kind of spoof of his own life with, a little bit of reality sprinkled in. We've got Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. Todd, and this is on the Roku channel of all places, which is weird. If you have a Roku, you have it anyway, so you'll be able to see it. But
it's not everywhere apparently. Like if you own like an Apple TV, they don't have the Roku channel. But I bet if you can watch it online or something like that if you really want to.
My point would be if you have a Roku, you have it, so you don't have to subscribe. It's just there,
and it's on other devices too. Yeah, and you know what? Okay. Why would you not expect Weird Al to finally be parodied? And he finally is.
Right. Yeah, you don't think that he's really gonna. This is what is it? Daniel Tosh once said it was one of his stand-up routines. He says, "Have you heard my stuff? And this was the point you expected me to get serious. Take this seriously." It was a bit he was doing about giving a high school commencement address. It was pretty dark. So anyway, and then finally, Todd, this last one is yours.
Yeah. So this one, like I said, Charlie, you're not interested in this, but we do have Willow coming on November 30th. This is. Don't remember when Thanksgiving is this year, but I think this is past Thanksgiving. So it's kind of weird that I thought this might be around Thanksgiving, but no, it's not. It's the week after Thanksgiving. So it's really going to be probably a 10 episode fantasy series for Disney. So, and I don't know if we're going to get a Star Wars thing following that or not for December. I would think we would.
A Star Wars thing meaning exactly what do you mean?
Like Mandalorian? No,
that's in February. No, there's no more. That's the end of content. There's nothing else.
It's over, folks. 2022 is over.
2022. It's done. Yeah. Well, they're expecting people are going to want to spend time with their families over Christmas or some bullshit like that. We'll see what happens.
Without Star Wars, Charlie.
Yeah, guy, you're right. In times past, but it's been a long time. So yeah, no, we don't. Well, no, we have ongoing Star Wars content because we have Andor will be on. So there you go.
It'll be over by then, I would think, right?
12 weeks. So just
but three episodes are dropping at once.
You're right. It might be because they pushed Bad Batch in the first quarter. It's January 4.
Bad Batch is not back.
No, it will be. No, that was another piece of the news from D23 that's getting pushed into January. So yeah, my. I guess they're really there. I guess December is just hands off there. Man, do you think it's not a good time?
It's all things Avatar.
Oh no!
Yep, no, Avatar babies. Avatar babies will be debuting in December. Watch for it, folks.
Oh my God, please no. Oh my God, and with that is the show. Todd, where do people find you out there in the webs of Intra?
You can follow me on Twitter at @toxtra. Just having a good time talking probably about the misery of my fantasy football team. So watch for that. And also just, enjoying the things of video games and nerd.
Is your fantasy football already suffering? Did the regular season start, or is that today?
It did. It started Thursday was the first game, and so the Vikings played the Packers today.
Yeah.
It was the Super Bowl champions lost their first game, and I had a running back, and he pooped the bed.
Vikings Packers, is that going to be a bloodbath? Because the Packers are the Packers, right?
They've got some key injuries, but I'm gonna try to enjoy it.
That's a big regional rivalry for you guys.
Definitely is.
Minnesota people love Wisconsin. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Spell it out. That's pretty much my handle at Instagram, TikTok, blah blah, other places. My lovely wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey, the preeminent Michigan chapter of the Star Trek Starfleet International Fan Club. You can find us at that website and at socials all over the place. I also try to populate our Secret Friends Unite Facebook page with news and content for your entertainment as I can. So as always, friends, I'm going to tell you thank you for joining us. Sharing is caring, and keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.